9, 1 Tango down, preparing to infiltrate. Hold on. I think I might have a bomber here. Yeah, but I'm ready for him. What the? No, 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 no! No! What the fuck?
What's up guys, Rogue9 here, and we're back with some Rainbow Six Siege. The latest DLC Dustline has just dropped and I thought, hey, it's about time that maybe I covered these Canadian weapons. Better late than never is my motto, and in line with that motto I will be covering a couple of bonus weapons that are not really part of the Canadian arsenal, but I haven't covered them yet in any other video. And with that, let's dive straight in. This is the Mark I 9mm, also known as the Browning High Power. In the early 1920s, the Belgian company FN Herstal commissioned the American weapons designer John Browning to create a design for a semi-automatic pistol that could hold at least 10 bullets. The name high power does not actually refer to, as you might assume, the energy or lethality of the weapon's ammunition. Rather, it refers to the fact that back in 1935, when this weapon first entered service, the 13-round capacity of its double-stacked magazine put it head and shoulders above its competition. Before the design of the weapon could be completed, John Browning passed away in 1926, leaving the finalization to FN employee Dieudonné Sèvres. Interestingly, after its introduction in 1935, the weapon went on to see combat action on both sides during the Second World War. The Canadian firm John Inglis Company produced the pistol for use by the Allied forces, while FN Herstal in conquered Belgium produced the weapon for use by the Germans. The Mark I variant that we see in the game was originally designed in the early 1950s for the American market, and it kind of shows its age a little bit. Its damage rating of 38 puts it amongst the weaker pistols in the game, while its capacity of 13 only manages to trump the more powerful yet low capacity pistols, which are the M45, the PMM and the LFP 586. The key strength of the Browning Mark I though is its recoil pattern, allowing the operative to put 3 or even 4 shots on target without counteracting the recoil. So all in all, the Mark I 9mm as it's known in the game is a very capable sidearm. Let's move on to the assault rifles.
Op 4 eliminated. Friendly mission successful.
The assault rifle used by the Canadian JTF-2 is the C8 SFW, and as promised I'll also be including the G36C. Developed during the early 1990s by Heckler & Koch GmbH of Germany, the G36 entered production in 1996 and was adopted by the German Armed Forces in 1997. Over the last couple of decades, a fair few variants of the weapon have been produced, including the MG36, a squad automatic weapon, the G36K, a carbine variant, and the compact variant G36C that we see in the game. Despite being a long-running favourite with both police and military special forces around the world, there has been some controversy around this weapon. During 2014 and 15, a series of reports claimed that there were accuracy concerns with the rifle due to overheating. It seems in retrospect that part of the row around the rifle's accuracy was politically motivated, and the most recent consensus seems to be that there is no inherent flaw with the weapon. The strength of the G36C in the game is its mobility rating of 41, which is just slightly higher than the 40 which most other rifles have. Its fire rate of 780 is bang on average, but its damage rating of 38 is the lowest amongst all of the assault rifles. The gun's out-of-the-box recoil pattern is not bad, but it can be greatly improved by adding a vertical grip. So in summary, well, even though the G36C is a very capable weapon in Rainbow Six Siege, its stats just don't quite stack up with the competition. And yet I still like it. Now, that's probably because I'm somewhat biased, because I used to use a G36 back in the days for work, so maybe you should use the stats when making up your mind whether or not you want to use this gun. But enough of the G36. time to take a closer look at the C8 SFW. Being a very close relative to the Colt M4, the C8 carbine was originally produced under license by the Canadian manufacturer Dymaco. This company was bought up by Colt in 2005 and now operates under the name Colt Canada. So essentially the C8 is a Canadian manufactured M4. The variant of the gun seen in Rainbow Six is the SFW variant, or Special Forces weapon. This features a longer and heavier cold-forged barrel compared to other C8 variants, which gives the rifle a greater effective range and allows the operator to keep up sustained fire for a longer time before the barrel starts to overheat. The in-game version of the rifle carried by the operator Buck comes with a pre-attached M26 MAS, which is the modular accessory shotgun system. I find this attachment very useful since it can not only be used to quickly and easily break open doors and windows, but it also allows the operator to easily break open floor breach points with maybe 1 or 2 shots from above as well as below. If you're really feeling ambitious, you can even use it to make your way through breachable walls. Just keep in mind that it will take at least 2 full magazines and maybe about 30 to 40 seconds to shoot your way through. And of course, you can even use it to take out enemies at short range. The C8 SFW's mobility rating of 40 and capacity of 30 are standard for the assault rifles in the game, and its damage rating of 42 puts it bang on average. And with these pretty good stats, it's the fire rate of 837, which is a good chunk above average, that makes this weapon shine. So in summary, the C8 is a great all-round rifle with superb fire rate, and for me, it's the M26 shotgun attachment that really makes this rifle a great choice for any assault. The Canadians also have access to a C1A1 designated marksman rifle. But first, let's check out the OTS-03 SVU. Also known as the Dragunov SVU or Snajperskaya Wintowka Ukorochenia, which means short sniper rifle. This bullpup designed sniper rifle, or maybe more accurately designated marksman rifle, was developed in the early 1990s and produced from 1994 onwards. An upgraded version of its larger and older brother, the Dragunov SVD, this gun was both designed and produced by the Central Design Research Bureau of Sporting and Hunting Arms in Russia. And while being more compact and lighter than the SVD Dragunov, it still fires the same 7.62x54 Russian bullet. The in-game version of the rifle comes with the original 10-round detachable box magazine, while in real life 20 and 30-round magazines are also available. What makes the in-game version of the gun rather unique is the inclusion of a flip-up optical magnification. Whether you're using the standard flip-up iron sights or any of the optical sights, you can choose to flip up the magnification sight at any time, giving you a clearer, sharper and enlarged view of your target. This is a great asset to have, considering that most of the battles in Rainbow Six Siege are fought at very close quarters. This rifle gives you the flexibility to engage enemies at long range, and then once you enter the target building, you can quickly switch back to your standard combat sights. A damage rating of 152 makes this easily the strongest rifle in the game. But of course this is balanced out by the remaining stats. The fire rate is single fire, the mobility of 36 puts it basically on par with the machine guns, and a capacity of 10 is the lowest you'll find in any rifle. Nevertheless, if you compare this gun to the HK-417 used by the GIGN forces, you can see that this rifle is actually very powerful. At a cost of only 2 mobility points, the OTS-03 SVU does 2.5 times the damage of the HK-417. If you can handle the relatively slow fire rate and strong recoil, this gun will help you make short work of your enemies. And with that done, let's get back to these Canadian weapons. Next up, the CAMRS, or C1A1. The Canadian Army Marksman Rifle System, as it is known in the game, or C1A1 in real life, is in fact simply a Canadian-produced version of the L1A1 British rifle, and that in turn is simply an inch pattern variant of the Belgian FN FAL. Both the metric FN FAL and the imperial measurement L1A1 or C1A1 were developed between 1947 and 1953 and entered service in 1954. The C1A1 version was manufactured under license by the Canadian Arsenals Limited Company, and it came with a few small and subtle changes in design that made it more useful for Canadian conditions. One such example is the removable trigger guard, which allows the operator to fire the weapon while wearing mittens. Another difference was a slightly shorter receiver cover that allowed the weapon to be charged using stripper clips. Whatever good that does. Chambered in 7.62 by 51mm NATO, the rifle's power is reflected in-game with a slightly elevated damage rating of 52. Its fire rate is semi-automatic and its mobility sports a relatively respectable 39. Capacity is 20 rounds. And with these stats, the rifle ends up sort of a hybrid between the standard assault rifles that do less damage, have more ammunition and shoot a bit faster, and the more dedicated marksman rifles such as the OTS-03 SVU. As with the C8, it also comes with the attached M24 MASS shotgun system, so you can seamlessly go from providing accurate long-range covering fire to smashing in the door with your shotgun and blasting your enemies close up. All in all though, I kind of have mixed feelings about this weapon. It's a hybrid between a regular rifle and a marksman rifle, but it's not powerful enough to compete with the more dedicated marksman rifles, and it's not fast enough or does enough damage to compete with the regular assault rifles. Of course, as with all weapons in the game, it is a perfectly capable tool, but if I really want to play as Buck, my choice will almost always be the C8 instead of the C1.
Getting into cover!
Over to the SMGs, and the Canadian JTF2 defensive operator Frost has the 9mm C1. And once again, this is the Canadian version of a British firearm originally designated as the L2A1, also known as the Sterling submachine gun. This firearm was designed and developed by George William Patchett during the last few years of the Second World War as a replacement for the Sten gun. But due to the end of the war, there was less need to replace the existing stockpile of Sten guns, so the Sterling SMG was not adopted in the UK until 1953. 5 years later, in 1958, the weapon was also adopted in Canada as the C1 submachine gun, produced under license by the Canadian Arsenals Limited Company. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, the manufacturer Blastech Industries acquired the license and started mass-producing a variant of the Sterling submachine gun called the E11 blaster rifle. Adopted by the Galactic Empire for use by its stormtroopers, this version of the firearm is probably the most widely recognized today. Despite its age, this SMG is one of the best in Rainbow Six Siege. Its fire rate of 575 might be the slowest among all the SMGs, and its mobility is only the standard 45 as with all others, but it's its capacity of 34 shots and its damage rating of 38 that really make this weapon shine. As with all other SMGs, the recoil is extremely manageable, and if you want a hard-hitting gun with plenty of ammo, this is the one to go for. As its name suggests, the Benelli M3 Super 90, or just Super 90 as it's known in the game, was designed and is manufactured by the Italian company Benelli. It has been in production since 1989 and is an upgrade on its predecessors, the M1 and the M2. This primarily semi-automatic shotgun comes in both 12 gauge and 20 gauge, and it has the unusual feature of being able to be switched over to pump action should this be required by the user. This is normally required for shooting lighter, less than lethal rounds such as beanbags or rubber bullets, and therefore does not play a role in Rainbow Six Siege. One of the more significant upgrades over its predecessors that we do see in the game is that its recoil spring is actually housed around the magazine tube rather than inside the buttstock. This means that while the M1 and M2 always needed a buttstock to be able to function, the M3 does not. And thus we see the Super 90 in-game without a buttstock because, let's be honest, it is about 2.8 times cooler and more tactical to have a shotgun without buttstock than it is to have one with. Looking purely at the stats, it would be easy to dismiss this firearm since its damage rating of 42 is the lowest amongst all the shotguns, alongside the M1014. Its fire rate is semi-automatic as all others, its mobility is 42, which is again joint lowest, and its capacity of 8 is only one higher than the lowest capacity we find of 7. But in practice, I've found this shotgun to be extremely useful, as have many others. Ubisoft have gone through several different rounds of weakening or nerfing Frost, which includes reducing the effective range of her shotgun, as well as in the most recent update, taking away her nitro cells. This had to be done both because of the popularity of the character, everyone always wanted to play her, and the success rates players were having with her. So, have you had a chance to play the new version of Frost? Are you disappointed that she's weaker now, or maybe relieved that you don't get killed by her all the time? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section below as always. I hope you found this video interesting and maybe even somewhat useful, and I will see you in the next episode. That is, of course, if you did like it and you want to come back and maybe see another one, it's up to you, it's your choice. If you do, like on this video and maybe clicking that subscribe button will make sure that you get to see videos in future. But of course, you know how it works. Anyway, see you then.